this is Sabina at Cross Keys Crafts. Today's card is based on the extending pop-up card that I posted a few weeks ago. And reason being is I need to make a card for a 60th birthday, but the birthday party is themed as the 80s. And I thought, what is iconic for the 80s? And then I thought about the Rubik's Cube. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I had a pop-up cube on the card? And it evolved from that. I was thinking about the extending pop-up card, and I worked out a way of building this Rubik's Cube on the card as a pop-up mechanism. And this is my template. I don't know if anyone else has done it before, but I figured it out myself. And yeah, I want to show you how I figured it out. I have only built this bit. I haven't built it in this size, but I've got some measurements here and I'm hoping that this will work. I will work on an A4 sheet. I'm sorry if you can't see the whole thing. I will show you in a moment how that works. I can show you my measurements here. If you have got the little cardstock or bigger sheets, you can do this 9 inches wide or 9 by 9 inches, and then it's so much easier. 9 by 12 inches, and then it's so much easier to work out. But because the A4 sheet is 8 1/4 by, I think it's 11 5/6 or something like that, I think most people have this. It'll be easier, or you can relate to the measurements a little bit more. So we just need a little bit of cutting and scoring. It is fairly easy. So let me lift my camera, get my scoreboard out, and I'll show you what we need to do. So I think this is as high as I can go with the camera, and apologies as well that I'm working on black cardstock, but I want the base of the Rubik's Cube to be black. So I will give you the measurements very clearly, so you can see what I'm doing or hear what I'm doing. So we need to score 2 lines on the 8 1/4 side. So one is at 2 3/4, and you score all the way through. And the second one is at 5 1/2. So, and then you turn this over and you need to score again at 2 3/4. You need to score, it doesn't look like a cube though. I might be mistaken, never mind, I'll check it in a moment. You score again at 5 1/2. You score at 8 1/4, and then you score at 11. So, and if I haven't worked it out wrong, these should all be squares. Let me just get my ruler out. And this should all be 2 3/4 wide. Yeah, I think I just got a bit of a wonky eye. So, and now we need to score at a diagonal, and what I would like to do, or what I like to do, is I'm getting rid of the scoreboard because I always find it a bit tricky to align something here, and I just get a little silicone mat. You've seen this before. It's just one of our kitchen mat, and I find it easier to score with that. So let me just put my scoreboard away and let me get my metal ruler. That's a bit easier to use. On the second row from the top, you take the outer square and you need to connect that corner here with that corner down there. So I'm always like to offset it a little bit, go a little bit lower, because obviously the bone folder or the scoring tool takes up a little bit of space. So, and because you've got the silicone mat underneath, you can put quite a bit of pressure on, and then you've got a score line there. So, and now you need to connect that corner with that corner there. So we're basically scoring at both diagonals on that square. Checking again before I score. Can you see? So we need to do the same in this square here and the same in the two down here. Yeah, so these two and these two. So I quickly do this off camera. So I finished my scoring and have also marked now the areas we need to cut away. This is the two squares here at the top, and then we need to cut away these two little triangles, these two little triangles. Here we don't cut away the full square, we need to leave a little flap. If you want to, you can mark that. I will just eyeball this a little bit, the same on this side, and then this triangle gets cut away in this triangle, and I will also cut the flap down a little bit here to half the size. I think that'll be enough. This obviously is the length I had of the A4 sheet. So I just show you how to cut this bit away, so you get an idea of the flap there. So I'm just eyeballing that. That is, I'm not good with inches. I reckon it's about ½ inch there. So, and when you cut away, we can cut this whole triangle away with the square. So I'm just cutting across here, and I'm cutting away the score line as well. Don't want to see the score line afterwards. The same here. I'm cutting on the right hand side of the score line so that I'm cutting it away. I'm actually cutting to the top here, and I'll tell you why in a second, because we need to create a little wedge there. So I can just tear this off, and then I'm cutting a little wedge out here and here. Yeah, so you can get an idea of that. And again here, cutting away the score line and the score line here, and accordingly on the others. And at the bottom I will just use my trimmer, and then I'll show you how we cut the wedges there. At the bottom you need to cut into the score line there, up to the score line there. It goes across, and then you just cut little wedges out like this, and also at the end. And this is how you create the flaps that we need for gluing it down. There you go. So now we need to fold and burnish all the score lines. These are all mountain folds, and when you fold them over, make sure that this line here, for example, lines up with a line underneath. You don't want this to be wonky. You've got the chance to get this right, otherwise it won't fold exactly. So I will quickly do this off camera, and then I'll show you how we cut these squares that need to go on top, you know, the decorations. For the squares on the sides, you need cardstock in 6 different colours. I've just chosen an orange, I've got a red somewhere, yellow, blue, green, and this is a sort of pinkish purple. And what you need to do is you need to cut squares that are 2 1/4 by 2 1/4, and then this gets a bit fiddly. You need to cut these to 3/4 squares. I think on this one it's not too difficult. Yeah, on this guillotine, on my bigger one, it's really tricky. If you have got a die that could do something like that, that would be okay. This obviously is the measurement that fits with the A4 cardstock, because when you spread them out you need this to be a bit smaller, so in between those squares you have got some space and some black. So I will do this off camera. I was considering whether I should round the corners of these squares, but I don't know yet. It depends on how fiddly it's going to get. But I call it a night now after I've done all that, and I'm going to film the second part tomorrow. So it's about 18 hours later. I did a late night session yesterday cutting out the squares. I have to put a disclaimer in the video. I told you needed 6 squares, but what I had forgotten is that one of these large squares will be the bottom of the cube, so you won't be able to see the colours, so you only need 5 squares. So I'm going to ditch these here. This is the purplish pink one, because the other colours actually go quite nicely together, and this was a bit of the odd one out. I have cut these all to these squares. They are 3/4 squares, and I had mentioned, I think in the video, that I thought about using the corner rounder, but this was getting too fiddly. So what I did was I just used my scissors and I just cut corners off. I don't know if the camera picks it up, although that's out of focus. So, and I figured out afterwards with my calculator, so I had to cut 180 corners. They're all the corners. But yeah, I think it'll look so much better than having the squares as normal. By the way, when I cut these here, I should have thought beforehand you could have just cut them as a strip rather than having a square, because then it would have been easier. But I basically cut the square into 3 strips, and then I cut this at 1.5, and then I cut it into 3/4 because I thought that was easier. But obviously you could have a 3/4 strip like this, and accordingly, don't ask me now how wide that is. I could actually just check this for you quickly with my ruler here. Get that out of the way. So that would be, well, under 7 inches. Just leave it at 7 inches, and then you can always snip a little bit off. So that might actually be easier to cut them all. But anyway, I got there. So you need to decide on the 2 colours you want on the side of the cube. I'm going for the orange and the red because these are so close to each other. Well, not really close, but close enough that I thought I don't want these to sit together on the cube. So by putting them on either side, they won't be together. And you need to cut some of these squares. So the 4 on the outside, no, sorry, do they? Yeah, oh, they get cut as well. Sorry, I thought that would stay the same. Is it the middle ones that stay the same? Yeah, these stay the same. So no. Wait till I sort my brain fog out. I need to stop recording videos in the evening. Yes, these stay the same. So 4 of them you need to put aside. And then these here get cut diagonally. It doesn't really matter which way around because they're squares. So I just yesterday, when I did this with the orange ones, I just eyeballed this and I just cut them across. And because you've cut the little, or I have cut the little corners off, it's actually quite easy to find the middle. So 4 of these just need to be cut like this. Let me zoom in a little bit as well. And then the one that goes in the middle, we need to cut this twice. If you can hear some scratching in the background, that's my cat wanting to come into the craft room. So in a moment, I think I should open the door. So you take this triangle and cut that again. And then the counterpart and cut that again there. So we need to do that with 2 of the colours, the ones you want to have on the side. So apologies if you hear any noises in the background. That will be my cat. He's a bit whiny at the moment. So I just want to demonstrate how to glue these down. So these panels are really easy. That's the back one. That's the one that will be on top. That's the one for the front. And this one here is the one that will be at the bottom, so we can ignore that. And I want to have the yellow pieces on top. Also check whether your cardstock has got a top and bottom. Some cardstocks are a bit rougher on one side, so that might be worth checking. So I'm just using my two-way zig glue again. This is best for intricate pieces. I find it's not too wet, so I'm just putting some glue on there. This needs to dry just for a moment. I'm just looking for my tweezers that have disappeared from the table. Oh, here they are. And I can use my tweezers, and I'm placing this in the middle. I'm eyeballing this. You can measure that if you want to, but I'm just setting this down here and press it down. So, and then the next one will go right next to it. You can use other glue if you want to, but I find this the easiest, and it's only decoration. It doesn't need to hold any weight or anything. So I'm placing this down with a bit of a gap. Trying to find a similar gap between the score line and these two here. And obviously the next one will go on the other side. I'm waving this just to let it dry a little bit. I usually don't really have any problems, but it's definitely worth using the tweezers, so with these small pieces, so that your fingers don't get in the way. So, and then I would space one out at the top there, again find the middle and put that one there, spacing them out evenly. Maybe this one could even have gone a bit higher, but it doesn't matter. So these are the ones that go on the side. On these bits here, that's also why I've got the scrap paper there, because I need to get a bit closer. The full ones go in the middle of those triangles. I'll tell you what, I will glue them down and then I will lift this up for you to see. Because, apologies again for the black cardstock, it is a bit tricky in this light. And this one also got a bit of a stain now, but it doesn't matter. And again, you move it a little bit up from the score, and I can even move it a bit over. This is actually the top triangle. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Shows me where I need to glue this, and I've got a bit of a wriggle room with that. Now I need to move it over a little bit. With that tacky glue, it doesn't really adhere until I've pressed this down. So the same with one more. Give that a little bit of a blow. This glue is blue when it's wet, and when it gets tacky it gets clear, so you know you can use it. So, and now you need to take your triangles that are half the square and fill in these areas here. But on the edge you want to get as close to the edge as you can. So you've got these two here. Then you have to place two here that meet on the score line. Ideally, I find some that look like I've cut them from one piece, although you need to need a tiny little space, because you need to, as I said, need to have them on the score line but not going over. It's a bit like this. And the one that in the middle that you've cut into 4 pieces, you need to take 2 pieces and again move them to the edge, but don't move them fully together on the score line. Again, I will have a look in a moment which ones look like they're cut from one piece. If I had planned ahead, I would have kept these apart. So let me just zoom in a little bit more. I don't want to move the paper too much. So this is how you glue them down. And the counterpart of the red one here, this is my red, although it looks a bit orange now on the screen, goes down here, and it's you just adhere them the same way, and then my orange will go on here and here. So I can do this in a moment downstairs because my local craft room from the village hall, it's not my craft room, but it's the one I attend. We are meeting up on a Wednesday here at the moment at the pub, and yeah, I think I will do this there and then I come back and show you how to put this into the card base. What I want to show you before I forget that is I have already, zoom out a bit more, I have already put some mirror cardstock into my card base. Let me just move that light a little bit away. But although I've cut this from one piece, when I glued this down, I realised that the pattern actually has got a cut all the way through. Can you see that? So originally it was like this, but now I decided to actually put the cube on the top, and then hopefully the recipient won't notice. Luckily I hadn't decorated the outside yet. So have a look if you have got holographic cardstock like that. Make sure there are no interruptions in the pattern that could distract from the effect. This, by the way, I think this is from either Home Bargains or The Works. I'm sure I bought this really cheaply, but I think it's very cool and I think works with the 80s theme. So yeah, as I said, I will do this all off camera now. It will be a bit of a labour of love, but it'll look really cool. And I come back, as I said, for me it's about 2.5 hours. For you will be a few seconds. So I have glued all my squares and triangles down, and I'm really pleased with it. Some are a bit wonky if you have a close look, but I think the overall effect is really, really good. So now we need to build the mechanism, which is really, really easy. If you have watched my tutorial where I made the Gemini giraffe card, it's the same mechanism really that helps the cube to stand up. So, but this time I'm not using a plain cardstock and matted. I'm just cutting or scoring this from the same cardstock as the background. So I have marked on the back. This, by the way, this is 4 1/4. Let me just check my measurements again. Don't want to say anything wrong. Yeah, 4 1/4 wide. I might not even need the whole length, and this is 1 inch deep here, or yeah, that way around. So, and I have marked on the top at 1 inch and at the bottom piece at 2 inches. I'm doing it on the back, but the measurements are the other way around from what we did on the Gemini card. So I've got a silicone mat here. You've seen me use that before. This helps me to score the lines. I might even have used it on this card. I've got brain fog kicking in, and I need my bond folder, which has gone AWOL. Let me just check. I might have taken that away with me when I was doing the work downstairs. So I've found it here. So we just need to connect these 2 points, or rather 3 points. So scoring from the 1 inch to the 2 inch. I'm actually gone a bit to the side, and then from this corner here to the 1 inch. I hope I haven't messed it up by being a bit on the side there. Lining the ruler off a little bit on the side. It's completely slipped. Might not matter because this triangle will disappear, so it's better to do it from this side, and then you can hold it in place. Yeah, well, that's a bit wonky. I'll have to cut that again because I didn't score this properly. I missed that point, so bear with me whilst I do this again. After you've scored the line, you want to burnish and fold these properly. And if you use the same metallic cardstock, it might be a bit tricky, but it's actually got a good weight to it. So just make sure these fold nicely. So, but because this is, let me just check which way around we need to do it. Yeah, but because this is foiled, I don't think wet glue would hold that well, so I'm just putting some red tape on this square here. Sorry, triangle. Just using my wider tape, just putting it across here. Yeah, I think that might be enough. I'm not bothering about putting anything there, so I'm just cutting it off there. And ideally I would do this with different scissors and not my good scissors that can easily gunk up. So I'm not taking the release paper off just yet, because I need to work out where to place this piece. Let me just lift my camera up again. Yeah. So now when we take our piece here, if I turn it around, I have already marked where I need to glue this, because otherwise I'll get confused. So if you have a look from the front, so this is your back piece, your top and your front piece, and it needs to go to the left hand side of your front piece, and the triangle, the second triangle there, needs to face with a point at the bottom. So basically like this. You can actually put it right there. It doesn't matter how far you go in, as long as you have it straight. So I could actually chop this down quite a bit. So, and you need to do this before you assemble your cube. So I'm going to put some red tape on this whole piece here. So we try again. So you only need the tape in this, basically in this square, from that corner down here. So I just put 2 pieces down here. So, and now this needs to go basically with that tape from that score line there behind the square here. I'm trying to line it up straight. And the important thing is that when you fold it, that it doesn't interfere with this score line here at the bottom. So I hope I've done it right. Yeah. So what I haven't tried, by the way, is whether this will actually all fit into this card. I might find I have to cut a new card base, but never mind. So now we can glue the cube together. And I think I start by putting glue on these flaps here. These are the top ones. Am I doing this right? Yes, so not the bottom ones where you've got 3 flaps, but at the top one. Actually, at the bottom, one thing I can already mention is I've cut these small triangles. These need to be bigger so that these flaps don't interfere with each other. So I'm cutting these very generously so that when they sit like this, they don't overlap. And the side ones are fine as they are. So I'm using my Cosmic Shimmer Quick Grab Glue, which also has disappeared from my table. So I found it. So I'm now putting glue on the flap here. Try not to have too much on it, but enough, especially going to the edge, because I don't want this to gape open there on the edge. And I'm placing this now behind this piece here, lining it up, and I'm pressing it down to basically form the cube. And if I've got any spilling out, can remove that. I also like to use my silicone tool sometimes. I don't want to have too much on the cardstock because this might show afterwards. Whilst it's still wet, I can take it off. So once it's properly set, I can also go on the inside. Sorry, you can't see that. It's casting too much of a shadow. I can press it down from the inside. So I've got a bit of residue there that I can take off, and a bit there. So I now can do the same on the other side, and this is why we had to put that tab on, so that this can glue down, can be glued down. I hope my camera's staying focused for this. It's a bit more difficult to see because I've got this tab now, so I can't see whether it lines up there or actually goes a bit to the inside. And with a quick wrap glue, you've got a few seconds to get this right, and then you can press it down. So I think that'll be fine. So my idea is in the end to press these inwards to form the cube so that it will actually really be compact, but I'm not sure yet whether that works. So now these need to be glued on to the other side. So we've got that one there and these on the side. I'm not quite sure which way is the best way to do it, to keep it in place and get this right, whether I just start on one side and just work my way around. I might just do that, or whether it's best to do this one first in the middle. Yeah, do this one first. I hope the video doesn't get too long. It is a longer project, but I think this will be really, really cool. So I have to take that off again. I'm not quite in the middle there. So I'm pressing it with my fingers from the inside. Not too fussed about the glue there because that will be at the bottom. Yeah, once this is adhered, I can glue these on. And I think I'll quickly do this off camera. Okay, I've got a bit of a panic moment. I was looking at how much I actually have to edit out of this video. I got a bit panicky that this doesn't work, but if I look at my original card, it should work. I think it's just the fact that with this one, I glued it down here first and then added these pieces that made it a bit easier to stick these down. So by gluing this down here first, I think this is a bit tricky, but it should work. So I'm just decided to just stick it down and see whether it'll work. So I'm going to remove the red tape here. I'm just still using the other card for reference. This needs to be aligned next to the score line. And I'm just wondering which height to choose, because we want these to fold in here nicely. So I'd say about here. I'm not sure. I might do this all wrong now. So I'm just sticking this down next to the score line. Make sure this piece is straight and with a score line there. So I'm just pressing it down now. So, and now when I move this over, I think it works. I can now put glue at the bottom here. Now I tell you what, do I use red tape again? Because obviously I've got the metallic cardstock. But no, I won't use red tape this time. I'll risk the quick wrap glue, because if I need a bit of wriggle room, then I'm in trouble with the red tape. As I said, if I hadn't glued this flap inside the cube, this would have been much easier, but never mind. Maybe acrylic glue would actually be better, but I'll see. I'll risk it now. So I need to let me think again. Well, when we close this, this needs to fit in here, so maybe that's the way to do it. So where's the glue? So I'm just maybe just pressing this flat. I think that would be the best way to do it. And pressing this down here, I think, because as soon as I open the card to see what I'm doing, this will actually move again. So I think that's the best way to do it. Sorry, it's not the greatest tutorial. I'm still figuring this out myself. So pressing this down, I'm actually putting my fingers inside the cube as far as I can go, and I will now give this some time to adhere. So I'll leave this for a few minutes and then hopefully it will work. So I found if you actually pop these out with your fingers outwards, you can actually go into the center with your bone folder and press the bottom down. I know mine is a little bit wonky, but it doesn't matter. So, and the more pressure you give the quick grab glue, the better it'll adhere. So I'm just still leaving that to dry. In the meantime, I want to show you what I have prepared for the decorations. I have got these cassette tape dies. I know I bought them from China years ago, so I don't want to link to them below. They're from AliExpress. But if you put this in, by the way, if this is your name and your birthday is coming up, maybe switch off the video, don't watch it. But I'm sure the lady doesn't watch my YouTube channel. So I made this here, and I also put a little bit of acetate behind the window there, so it looks like a proper tape and a classic mixed tape. And I just went with a yellow bit here, kept it simple. I didn't want to go too bold with my colours, and I just used a black gel pen to draw or write on here, as we did back in the day. So oh, and by the way, the front piece, I doubled that up to just give it a bit of dimension, and I think this is really cool. I like it anyway. And for the sentiment, let me just show you. I have got this die that's got a shadow die, and I went for black. I want to keep this all in a similar colour. But my idea was to use some rainbow coloured paper, and I could not really find one that I liked. So I just got a piece of scrap paper. I just got my alcohol markers out. Sorry, that was my pocket tool falling on the floor. Just got my alcohol markers out. I just did some strips, and then I embossed this with clear embossing powder. It's a bit speckled in areas. I don't know if you can see that, but it doesn't really matter on the sentiment. So I just used my embossing pad on it, just pressed it down, and I think this is why it's so speckled. You could use a brayer if you wanted to, but I'm not fussed, and I just die cut that from this, and I think this looks really cool and bright, and I like the bold colours, because all the striped papers I had, either the stripes were too wide and you didn't get all the colours in, or they were a bit muted and a little bit of, a few pastel colours. I didn't like that. So I did that. I also die cut another black piece, and the 60. I might do something else to this, but I wanted to stay with this silver theme that I've got on the inside, and I thought this would be nice for the outside. I think I will have this one on the inside on the other side, but I'll have a little play. I also thought about adding some notes. I've got a die cut for the notes. You've seen that before. Oh, and one other thing, or two other things I wanted to show you. Originally I thought I might use this pattern paper because this looks so 80s to me, but these colours are a bit muted and they didn't go that well with my Rubik's Cube, so I dismissed that. But this is from a paper pad from B&M, so maybe you have this sheet and that would be great for an 80s card. So, and the other thing I wanted to show you for the outside, rather than using the silver again, I thought I'd use this red bubble, well, embossed bubble paper or cardstock. But when I first got this, and again, I think this is from B&M or Home Bargains, really cheaply, I thought this is really weird and it's very uneven, and the corners came off, and then I realised these sheets have got a protective sheet on them, and once you want to use it, you just pull this off and then you've got no blemishes on here. So if you ever wondered about this, just peel these off, and you could even use this for a shaker card if you wanted to. But yeah, I never knew this and I always thought it's poor quality cardstock, but on the contrary, this is actually really good. And I thought this would look good on the outside with the 60 and the happy birthday. So I'll have a little play off camera now because I think the video will be already too long anyway, and then I'll show you the finished card. So the card is finally finished. This was definitely one of my bigger projects, but I'm really pleased with this. I also coloured another background piece here for the 60 because the 60 was getting a bit lost on the black, and I think the rainbow colours are really, really nice. So I'm pleased with the front. When you open it, that Rubik's Cube stands up. The card doesn't fully open because otherwise this would fall flat backwards, but that doesn't matter. I think this is cool as it is. So just tuck the tape in there. Then I've added some notes, and these are added with adhesive glitter paper. I linked to that below. That was a pack of black and white that I bought years ago, and again I thought that would be great for the glitter, for the metallic cardstock or the mirror cardstock to put it on top. I need to press it down a little bit more, but yeah, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. And yeah, the more you pull, the more it stands up on the side, but you don't want it straight anyway because you don't want this to sort of block the mechanism, because you want to be able to close it again. And yeah, and on the back I will add a panel once I've written my message, so that's where that will go. But yeah, I'm really pleased. I even considered at one point whether I should keep the card, but no, it has been dedicated to this person, so I will hand it over. I might post the video before it's her birthday, which will be in a few weeks' time. But yeah, I'm really chuffed, and even without blowing my own trumpet, or maybe you call it blowing my own trumpet, I think this is really, really cool. So yeah, a longer video, apologies for that if you don't like the long videos, but if you do want to follow this, I hope I managed to explain all the little steps. Yeah, and if you like this card, you might want to give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that, and I'll see you soon with another video.